8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. 8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Yes, kids, you too can own one of the big Halloween 3. That's right, 3 horrific masks to choose from. They're fun, they're frightening, and they glow in the dark.
I became Halloween obsessed, and I would go to costume shops looking for anything close to Michael Myers or whatever other creature I was wanting to be for Halloween. Sometimes I would just find like a close zombie and just alter it. And around the time I was about 14, 15, I started trial and error trying to make masks, sculpting out of the wrong clay, the wrong materials, using the plasticine that kids would use to play with. Is a pretty crappy oil clay. So you're kind of smearing a sculpture together until I started reading more Cinemagic and different magazines like Gore Zone, especially the Caglione and Drexler section of Gore Zone. That's where I learned a lot of little tips and tricks. One day I just started sculpting my own and got a little better every time, a lot of failure. And then started my own little company about almost 19 years or so in. I had a customer, Chris Zeffro, became a really good friend of mine. And during the middle of a recession, he said, "Hey, why don't we let's start a mask company?" I thought, well, I have a mask company. He goes, "No, let's start something bigger and bring your work to the world." I thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea. We started it and made no money but we're both pretty hard-headed, so we kind of just stuck it out, and we got our first license, and then got the next license, and next thing we knew, we were in a meeting with Universal Studios, and he asked if we could have Halloween 2 and 3, and they said, sure.
Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Well, the 3 masks, you have a skull, a witch, and a pumpkin. That's pretty much spells out Halloween for you right there. And being that the skull was in production since 1967, before, some of us were born, we've seen it every year, somewhere. There's a familiarity about all 3 of these characters.
The world's going to change tonight, Doctor. I'm glad you'll be able to watch it.
The skull props always referred to as the Berman skull. And somewhere in 1967, Don Post, from the story I was told, handed the prop sculpt to Pat Newman, and they asked her if she could recreate that as a Halloween mask. They often get mistaken as each other because the similarities are extremely close. And it wasn't until I saw a photo at a convention side by side with the mask that I noticed there were a few differences. One being the mouth was open, and then I realized that was actually the Berman skull and not the Pat Newman mask. Somewhere around 1982, Don Post employee Jim Leonard sculpted the witch that's also known as Hagatha. She was offered in gray-green, neon, and a yellow vinyl. As on the table here, you can see a master pool loaned to me from my friend Aaron Lewis. You can't get better than that.
Put on your masks and watch.
Honey, don't get too close. You'll ruin your eyes.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Well, the jack-o'-lantern, also by Jim Leonard, was the only mask actually sculpted for the movie. After the movie came out, it was put into production. They were all 3 put in production around 1983, I believe, as the Halloween 3 trio, and they came with the discs on the back. Not sure how popular they were back then because they're pretty rare. So in 2012, Don Post released a very limited set, and they're pretty sought after. They released the Hagatha with no ears. It had a plush, sort of a more fleece-style hood that was sewn around the ears. After Don Post closed in 2012, I got permission from Don to put these originals out to the fans. This time with a hard plastic power chip that's glued to each mask. So basically, when it came time to recreate the mask for Trick or Treat Studios, I pulled the one from my collection, made a mold, cleaned it up, and then put it into production. It didn't seem like a smart idea to resculpt these guys when I had the originals available to me. I think people actually probably want more Halloween 3 now. Now that there's an audience for it. So we have a lot of Halloween 3 products coming out. So we've had the original trio released since probably 2013, and now this year we finally have a glow-in-the-dark set coming out. So for the first time ever, all 3 masks will glow in the dark. So we have wall decor, ornaments, action figures coming. We have this amazing witch board designed by Sam First. The cool thing is in Halloween 2018, you can see trick-or-treaters as these characters, but they were not our masks. They were the 2012 Don Post masks. So far from what we can tell in Halloween Kills, they did actually use our masks. So maybe look forward to some bloody Halloween 3 masks. For the longest time, people would say, I love Halloween, except for part 3. Yeah, that one, fuck that movie. And but now, at least I can watch Halloween 3 any day of the week. Actually, can watch Halloween 3 more often than any of the others because it's just more fun. It took many years to collect it. That was an amazing film that just pretty much encompasses everything Halloween. And they had a pretty genius idea to move on from Michael Myers since they killed him off, and I believe they were going to do an anthology every year. And now everyone's obsessed with Halloween 3, and some of us watch Halloween 3 more than 1 and 2.
Happy Halloween.